everybody. Welcome, welcome. Oh, we have a neat background again, don't we? That is so cool. All right, I need to do this. I'm not. Okay, we're gonna put this all back here. Oh, this is much better. Okay, now I don't look like my head's cut off. All right, welcome, welcome. It looks like we have 6 people. You early birds are wonderful. Once again, I'm all flushed because I was having fun technical difficulties again this morning. This is what keeps me young and vibrant, everyone. Dealing with, this time it wasn't Zoom, it was Wi-Fi. But we got it all set. I'm all set. And I've just got great, cool stuff for you today. We've got 1 minute till we start, and I'll share the screen. I've got a great PowerPoint, and man, do I have some cool samples to show you. Actually, I just have great photos. My samples are really icky. Okay, look, I have a whole basket. I think you can, oh, you can't see it. You can't. Anyway, when you have these backgrounds, you can't see stuff, but I have things like this that I can show you, and things like this that I can show you, and I've got great photos about a Pachysandra, and the main concern is that we're still, even though it's raining today, this light rain, which is wonderful, we are still in a major drought. I mean, major drought. So we were supposed to have 3.5 inches of rain in April, and we only got a 1/2 inch. So anytime we see this beautiful rain, and then I know people are all sad because it's chilly again, but guess what, everybody? The chilly temperatures are making our beautiful spring flowering plants last longer. So all those beautiful crab apples, the serviceberries, the magnolias, they're going to stay in bloom longer, and as well as our beautiful pansies. So so I like this nice rainy and cool temperature, but you can tell I'm a horticulturist. Anyway, it looks like we've got a lot of people, 10 people signing on. Welcome, welcome. I'm Jennifer Brennan. My official title is Horticulture Information Specialist at XIII, and I've been here 30 years as of a week ago Saturday, and manager of the Learning Center back when we had the Open Learning Center, but an active participant in our virtual Learning Center now. So it's been really fun, and I'm learning a lot every day. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Everybody, you got the connection to the Zoom, and then it's a separate email from Carly with the Garden Coach notes, and it's not a whole bunch today. And then the other thing I wanted to show you before we get started is we actually have a list of our roses of 2021. This is the prototype, and it's going to be printed up, so we'll be able to hand it out to you. And what's great is it lists all the roses that we'll have in stock, plus a wonderful planting and care guide, with all the instructions on it, there. So those are kind of neat new things that we have coming your way. Let me go ahead and share the screen. And then, I'm going to make an announcement about when you want to ask questions, use the question and answer segment rather than the chat box. It's easier for me to keep track of them. And what I do is I answer the questions after going through the presentation, because maybe the question is answered during the presentation, but I stay on until I get all your questions answered. So let me get these. I'm going to bring this up so I can share. Oh, I have to do it this way. I'm going to share the screen. We have 14 people. Great. And no questions yet. Oh, that's a good sign, isn't it? Okay, and here we go. Share the screen. And here's my PowerPoint. Share. Here we go. Okay, and then I'll start the slideshow. Where is that? Okay. Here we go, slideshow. Okay, you're supposed to do something when I click on you. There, it did it. And then from the beginning. Here we go. Oh, too many pictures of me now. All right, let's move on. All right, so these are the topics, and this is on your outline. I have more details on the outline, and I'm just going to go ahead and go through all of it instead of reading it to you right now. But the most important thing is the nursery is open. Oh, well, the most important thing is the nursery is open. But I'm going to switch gears a little bit and tell you that the most important thing is watch your water, watch the rainfall at your house. I have been so disappointed at my house because every time we've had any rain at my house, it hasn't even been 0.2 of an inch. And so I always empty the rain gauge after there's a rain. So, and then I add up what we've had each week. And that rule of thumb is at 75 degrees or cooler, you want to have an inch of rain each week. And if you don't get an inch at your house, and it can be different, because rain's so spotty. If you don't get an inch at your house, you want to make sure you give supplemental watering. And that's why I have the sprinkler system set up to show you how to measure. People always say, how do I know if I'm giving my lawn and my garden an inch? So you set up, and I always joke that turf guys set up this, this display. So they put the containers at the point where the water is flowing, midway through the field, and at the far end of the field. And then you time how long it takes to get a 1/2 inch of water in those containers. And obviously you're going to get more in the middle container than you will on the end, maybe not, but so like at my house, and I can't tell you what it is at your house, you have to calibrate your irrigation system. Doesn't that sound official? But you have to measure based on the flow and the water pressure at your house. And guess what? It can be different at different times of day. So at my house, if I run my sprinkler in the morning, when everyone's in their showers, in the neighborhood, the water pressure isn't as high. And if I do it later in the day when people aren't taking showers, then my water pressure is higher. So at the time when I'm usually home watering, which is usually midday, it takes 30 minutes to get a 1/2 inch of water, distributed from my sprinkler heads. So, but check at your house so you know. So what that means is if I haven't had an inch of water, I run my sprinklers twice a week to get a 1/2 inch each time. And that totals 1 inch, the equivalent of 1 inch of rainfall. Now, for every 10 degrees above 75, we need another 1/2 inch of rain or supplemental water. So always remember that and provide accordingly to keep your plants out of stress. Okay. These are my favorite rain gauges. I love the Bosmere one because it's conical shape, and because even if you just get a little bit of rain, it will actually measure it for you. So you're not as depressed if it doesn't measure anything on a straight-sided one. But anyway, this is my favorite, and I put my rain gauge right in a planting bed next to my driveway. So if it rains at night and I come outside and I'm getting in my car, I always check my rain gauge. If it rains when I'm at work, when I come home that day, I get out of my car, I check my rain gauge. I know I'm weird. I should have my horn ring glasses on, shouldn't I? Okay, now let's just keep moving here. So now this is the fun stuff. These are samples that I have seen at the diagnostic desk. And what's fun about getting warmer temperatures and it's everything is based on degree days, and it's called growing degree days, the GDDs. And as the temperatures go up, and when we had those 80-degree days, man, it popped everything. And so this is when it's really fun to be at the microscope. So the first one that I've been seeing a lot of, and I hate to tell everybody this, but it's Anthracnose on Japanese maples. And I've probably had about 10 samples come in. And what's sad is this was Anthracnose is a fungal disease that gets into many plants. There's a different anthracnose for all the different trees and shrubs in the area. And most trees and shrubs, it just is a leaf disease, a leaf spot disease. But on Japanese maples, they're so much more susceptible that when the disease gets into the leaves, the fungus can travel down the petiole, which is the stem of the leaf, and get into the wood of the plant. And once it gets into the branch of the plant, it's in the vascular system, and it clogs the vascular system, and then it causes the tips to die. And for many, many years, gardening here and advising people on horticulture in Chicago, we just always thought that Japanese maples weren't winter hardy. And because you would get a lot of this dieback. Look at the photo on the left. You can see the branches that have died back. But when a branch is brought in to a microscope, and you put it under the microscope, you can see how the anthracnose is in the vascular system, and how when it propagates, it forms pycnidia, which is the sporting, not the sporting, it's the reproductive structure of the fungus, and it breaks through the bark, and you see these dark bumps. You can actually feel them when you touch the dead branch tips. And ideally, what you can do is just prune back. And what you want to do is you want to prune back 6 inches. It's 6 inches from the edge of my thumb to the end of my hand. You need to prune 6 inches deeper into the branch from where you see the damaged disease, and that way you'll get rid of it in the vascular system. So this poor purple leaf bloodgood. Oh, this is actually a japonica in the upper left hand. It looks horrible, but if you prune all those dead branches back at the beginning of the season, you'll be amazed to see what branches are opportunistic and grow into those spaces. So this one could actually be saved. And then I would also recommend, that's a really dwarf Japanese maple. It's probably only about 4 feet tall, and it could get up to 6 feet. And it would be a great candidate for the Bayer all-in-one, and Bayer, it's BioAdvance is the name now, all-in-one rose and flower and shrub protector. And you just measure the height of that small tree, 4 feet. You would measure 1 ounce per foot. So it's going to be 4 ounces, and put that in 4 quarts or a gallon of water, and then pour and just drench that where it's going to go into, where the trunk goes into the, goes into the, I just realized I don't have my light on. That's icky. Huh. Uh-oh. Sorry, you guys, I just got sidetracked because my light's not on. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Sorry. God, just when I think I have these technical things taken care of. Okay, sorry, you guys. All right, and so anyway, the tree down below, you can also prune. You would prune that off, and go again 6 inches below where the dead tissue is. Okay, now serviceberry, I've seen probably 10 different serviceberries, and my own serviceberry in my own garden really got damaged when we had that 2019 polar vortex, where it dropped down to 39 below. We went from 42 degrees one day late in January down to 39 below. And there was a lot of winter dieback and cold damage on serviceberries. And I'm still getting samples. And this was a sample that came in, and you can see there was all this dead tissue. And the nice thing is, where the stems were alive, new buds formed and growth came from that. But because of the hot, dry summers we had 2 in a row, after that, the serviceberries really, really suffered. So, make sure you water them, give them some good fertilizer, help them form their roots right now by giving them root and grow. And that's that wonderful transplanting solution. That's a 4-10-3 fertilizer, has 10% phosphorus, which is the nutrient for roots, and then a rooting hormone. And that hormone tells the plant, I want you to use all of that phosphorus and make roots, and the plant does. And then that extra phosphorus is enough to help the plant, make the fruit. And then also there's enough phosphorus left if you keep using it every 2 weeks, for the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks. And then there's enough phosphorus left over so that it can produce the flower buds for next season. So be aware of your serviceberries. Now, this is cool. And even one of our staff members had this on her hydrangeas, and this is called a leaf curler, or they also call them leaf tears. And you can see the caterpillar. It's green, so it kind of blends in with the green leaves. And these photos are from my good buddy Joe Boggs at Ohio State University. And what happens is the eggs get laid, and then the egg hatches, and that larva is usually on the inside of the leaf, and then it pulls all the leaves from the tip together, and so the leaves look like the plant's praying, and it glues the leaves together, and then it lives inside and eats the new tips as they're growing, and then pupates, and you can see the caterpillar silk casings inside the leaves. If you pull those leaves apart, you'll either find the larva is still alive, or it's already finished its life cycle, and it's turned into it's not a cocoon. It's actually, oh, it is a cocoon, because this is a moth, and then once it leaves, the leaves stay stuck together, but it flies away. And the way to protect your hydrangeas is to spray them with one of the systemic insecticides, and we have the BioAdvanced rose and flower spray. You can just hand spray. If you have a lot of hydrangeas you need to treat, we have the systemic insecticide in a hose-in sprayer. You just took it to the hose and spray once, and it stays in the leaves for 30 days. All you have to do is spray once, and you can take care of this one. But this is kind of a fun one, and it's really unique. Okay. Oh, and here are the fused leaves. I forgot I had another. Aren't those fun, how they're fused together? Okay, now, ooh, Pachysandra. Been seeing tons of it, and this was one of the samples that I have live and in person right here. Okay, I'll show you at the end also. But Volutella stem blight is a fungal disease that gets passed back and forth between boxwood and Pachysandra. And it gets on the lower left-hand photo, you can see where one of the stems is inoculated, and it's a stem blight, so it kills the stem. When it kills the stem, then the whole top dries out and it looks brown and dead. And you can see whole sections in your Pachysandra bed. It can also be a leaf blight. And so the photo on the upper right hand shows you how the fungus got into the new leaves when those leaves were forming last year, and then the lesion formed, and you can see how the plant tried to wall it off, and then the fungus leaked out again, and so you get that bullseye pattern. You can see that on the leaf up to the left in that one picture, and then looking down on the lower right-hand picture, you can see how the stem is involved and the leaves are involved. So the other thing we're seeing is, especially on Pachysandra that is under deciduous trees, when we've had these hot days and sunny hot days, the Pachysandra hasn't had the shade, and it is one of the few shade plants that only likes to live in shade. And so when when it's not in shade, when it's in full sun, especially hot sun, and especially when we're dry, those leaves turn yellow and get sunburned. So I'm seeing samples of that, as well as the Volutella stem blight. So the best thing to do, number one, spray it with Immunox. That's the wonderful systemic fungicide. I like to put it in a hose-in sprayer. You just spray to the point of drip off, just when the leaves are dripping, and it stays in for 14 days. So if any spore is thrown about or gets kicked into the air, if it tries to inoculate the new leaves that are forming, it won't. The Immunox active ingredient, which is mycolobutanil, will stop it cold. So it's really, really good. The other thing you want to do is make sure you water the Pachysandra and then also fertilize it. And Hollytone is the best fertilizer to use. And on the package, they say 10 pounds for 200 square feet. And when you divide that up, it's 1 pound for 10 square feet. And a pound is 3 cups. Oh no, it works out. It's not, it's 1 pound per 20 square feet is what the recommendation is when you calculate it. And so that means 1 pound, which is 3 cups, every 5x4 area in the Pachysandra, and you sprinkle it over it, and then even if it's on the leaves, water it heavily. So you wash it off the leaves and the fertilizer goes to the ground, down to the surface of the ground, and then stand back and watch it grow. It lasts 30 days. So I like to say, do it in May, do it again in June, and your Pachysandra will be wonderful and disease-free. Oh, wow. This one, I'm seeing this probably 5 samples a day. And people, you know, they fertilize their lawn and they're like, wow, it looks so great. And then they said, what is this pale green clumpy stuff that's in my lawn? And it tends to make big patches. It's called rough bluegrass, and it's an annual grassy weed that produces a lot of seed, and then that seed germinates, and people say, oh, it looks so bad, how do I get rid of it? The good news is once it gets hot and dry, it just dies away. So if you don't want it to come back next year, what you'll do is make sure that you don't need to reseed your lawn with your favorite perennial seed, and then go ahead and use one of the phase 1 pre-emergent weed control and fertilizer products. Bonide phase 1 is excellent, and it will prevent any seeds from germinating, especially rough bluegrass, and then also annual bluegrass. So the good news is you don't have to spray anything on it. Just let it get hot and it just kind of disappears. It just dies back and disappears. And then the perennial grasses kind of fill in and take over. So it's not as bad as it looks, okay? They also call this rough stalk bluegrass. So you might hear it called both ways, either rough bluegrass or rough stalk bluegrass. Turf guys and golf course superintendents hate this stuff. Okay, now when we had those over 80-degree days and people had used their weed killers on their lawns already, what happens is these are amine and phenoxyl chemicals, 2,4-D, and anytime the temperature goes over 80, they volatilize. And so then they volatilize up and drift up, and then whatever the wind patterns are, they drift into the actively growing plants. And what we've been seeing is damage on hostas. So, the 2,4-D causes the leaves to twist up and curl up like the photo in the upper left. But then you'll also see the leaves get real thick, and the cells, it almost feels like they're plastic. They get real thick to the touch, and then the veins get real close together. So you can see, now this was this lower photo showing 4 different leaves from the same bed. The hostas that were closest to the edge of the lawn got the highest impact. The leaves that were further away, you can see it didn't impact it at all. So don't worry, it's not going to kill the plant. It just deforms the actively growing leaves. And as the plant keeps growing, the newer leaves grow out over, you can prune off those damaged leaves. But that's just a way. And usually, this is another reason why I like that it's so cool, that our weed killers can do their job in the way they're supposed to. And there's warnings on all the labels saying, do not use any of these herbicides when temperatures can go over 85 in the next 30 days. So normally we don't have to worry about that in May, but it's been the last couple of years we've been having high temperatures. So anyway, that's what you'll see. Don't worry if you see that. And it's usually on one side of the plant where the fumes have drifted in from the lawn. A lot of times people say, well, I don't even use weed killers. It drifts in from neighbors' lawns. So, so that's, and then it can affect like a whole area of a garden, like even actively growing trees and shrubs. So, so just be on the lookout for that. Now, this is woolly aphid. The samples I've been getting were on Serviceberry, but it's classic on birch, woolly aphid on birch. But what's really interesting is see how fluffy See how fluffy these insects are? And they have this cottony mass. I thought I had another picture. No, I don't. We're going to go back. And this is the sample, the photo that is right on the right-hand side. That's the sample that came in and that I had in my microscope. And you can see all those little baby insects, and you can see the adult that has the wings. It looks like a katydid. They look like katydids, but then they have that cottony, they produce that cottony exudate that covers them, and it protects them from, you know, wet weather. It can also protect them from insecticides, but you know, you can use a contact insecticide on them. It's pretty effective, but I like the systemics because you just spray the leaf once for 30 days, and it will kill the insects on contact if it touches them. But if any of the insects are sucking the juices of the plant, and they have a sucking mouth part, then it kills them. On birch, look up in the left-hand side, the upper left hand, you can see how when they move to the underneath side of the leaf and make these deep furrows, and then they get filled up with that cottony, protectant. So it's pretty, and on the birch, it's a dual host. It goes back and forth between witch hazels and birches. So be on the lookout for those. All right. The systemic drenches work very effectively for these plants. If you've had problems with that in the past, use the tree and shrub 12-month systemic insecticide, either from BioAdvanced or from Bonite. And those really do the trick. They really do the trick. Okay, so now, these didn't come to my desk, but I've had so many people come in and ask about, they're hearing news about the 17-year cicada. I'm going to clarify this now. And I helped Tracy Butler on Channel 7 Morning News get this clarified. And I made a PowerPoint. So I just did this one map. I want everybody to know, and I want everyone to take a deep breath. Okay, because the brood that is emerging in 2021 is brood 10. Now you can sort of see on the map where, and I have the arrow pointing to that little tiny area in Illinois that is brood 10. And that's the only area in Illinois in 2021 that is gonna have the 17-year cicada emerge, all right? Now, look up where we are, and you can see the line kind of dipping down, and it almost dips down to Peoria. We are brood 13, and we're not scheduled to have the 17-year cicada until 2024. Okay, so everybody take a deep breath. Don't rush in and buy netting to cover your plants, and don't panic when our summer cicadas emerge. And they emerge usually end of June, you know, in through July, and they're out for about 6 to 8 weeks, and they're just, you know, the summer cicadas. We're not going to have a 17-year emergence this year. Okay, so pass the word. If you want this map, let me know. Email me at jenniferb@shalleynursery.com, and I'll send you this map so you can be my disciples and spread the word that don't worry, the cicadas aren't coming here this year. The cicada, you know, I feel like Paul Revere, the British are coming. They're not. Excuse me. Okay, now the fun stuff to brag about Chalet. You know, we're open, the nursery's open. We are getting, and we actually got, I thought I put this on here. We actually have had, 35 trucks unloaded this last week, and we're getting as many this week. We got geraniums yesterday. I didn't get a picture of the geraniums, but this is our front entrance. And remember, even though things are opening up and we're all getting vaccinated, a mask is required when you're on our grounds. And even if you're outside, you kind of have to do that. Beautiful containers from our signature people, you know, gorgeous flowering plants everywhere you look. And we still, because of the average frost-free date is not until the 15th of May, we still have that protective little tent that is heated if we have to put anything that's, you know, that's subtropical to protect it. And we want you to realize that if you plant out plants that are you know, warm temperature plants, and we do get a drought, you have to be prepared to protect them. Okay, and then wonderful hanging baskets. We doubled our order of hanging baskets in honor of Mother's Day. Our signature containers are just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And there's all of the different ones. Beautiful combinations of the spring cool season annuals, and then mixed in with things like snapdragons that will keep blooming through the rest of the summer. Gorgeous pansy bowls, still lots of pansies. We're getting more and more different annuals in. And this is the bed that has a lot of our foliage plants. This is the golden creeping jenny, or the golden ismachia. Wonderful trees and shrubs everywhere. This looks back onto our evergreen section and our boxwood section. Beautiful flowering pears. Those are our dwarf conifers. We're getting more and more of those in every day. And then this is back again all across, you know, you can see all the arborvitae, all wonderful, wonderful evergreens that we have. And our central courtyard, we've actually, and I didn't get a photo of it because it just went up. We have the garden shed out there. We have all kinds of supplies for your vegetable garden, the different supports. We even have like a squash and cucumber trellis. So the plant grows up, the slanted trellis, and the cucumbers and squash hang down underneath it. So it makes easy harvesting. We've got lots of herbs in already. And then we should have, you know, our warm season vegetables in for next, you know, for next week, maybe this weekend, okay? And then we're setting up all the time, our wonderful staff, pansies, lots of pansies, and all the rest of our annuals. And it just, everywhere you look, it's just absolutely beautiful. And these are the perennials. We're getting more and more perennials in every day. And, you know, the perennials along the fence are the shade, and the ones in the middle of, you know, off the center courtyard are the sun perennials. And they're listed alphabetically by their Latin name. Outdoor cashiers, so it's easy. You can either go inside or outside to pay for your purchases. And these are wonderful containers. We've got lots and lots of beautiful containers. There they go. Now, we got lots of roses in, and I like to tempt you with a rose garden picture. These are my favorite knockout roses. We had a few in, they sold out like crazy. We're getting more in every day, and lots of hybrid teas came in. Beautiful. And grandifloras, the classic grandifloras, Queen Elizabeth. We have Queen Elizabeth in, and then you know, these are the soil amendments that you would use if you're planting roses. You want to, if you have heavy clay, use the Espumas clay soil perfector. Those are particles that are about 3/8 of an inch in diameter. They're black, and they have air holes in them, so they're like lava rock. And you just mix them into the top 8 inches, spread it 2 inches over the top, and that big bag will cover 25 square feet. An area is 5 by 5. Or I like to just have a bag of this in my garage. Whenever I'm planting new plants or transplanting, I always amend the soil. You dig the hole, put 1 inch in the bottom of the hole, and stir it in with the soil, and then mix it 1:3 or 1:4 ratio with the backfill, and it aerates and absorbs any water. And then when the soil gets dry, any water it's holding, it releases it. Wonderful product that stays in the soil forever and ever and ever. You can also add wonderful organic matters like our chalet leaf mulch, although we're out of the leaf mulch right now. We sold out 2 days ago. We're getting more, but we sold out. Shredded pine mulch is excellent. Cotton burr compost is excellent. I love the cotton burr compost because it's like a hybrid cross between leaf mulch and shredded bark mulch. And it actually, it's the burr is the structure that holds the cotton ball. They harvest the cotton and then chop the plant up with the burr, the woody stem, and the leaves, compost it, and then it actually will lower the pH of our high pH soil. Dehydrated manure is excellent for roses. I always like to encourage people to use gypsum and soil sulfur. Gypsum is calcium sulfate. It helps clay soil aggregate, so it helps it to form clumps and then aerates it better. It also will absorb any salt or any uric acid in the soil if a dog, urinates in that area. And you can't overdose with gypsum. With soil sulfur, it's elemental sulfur. It lasts for 6 months. So you use it every April and every October. Okay, and then these are I love having photos of, you have leaf mulch up in the upper left hand. Cotton burr compost is the one over on the right upper section. And then shredded pine bark mulch is down in the lower right, and shredded hardwood is the lower left. So these mulches also function as amendments, soil amendments. So it's nice. I'd like to show you what they look like so you can see what you're working with. And then again, how do I fix my lawn? All right, we're with the lilacs in bloom everywhere. Guess what? The crabgrass that means our soil temperatures are at 55 and over. And so that means you might be a little late if you did not get your pre-emergent down to protect against the crabgrass. So if that's the case, don't worry, just get a crabgrass spray. And, Bonite has a wonderful crabgrass and weed killer. And, just be prepared to spray the crabgrass, once it comes out, and it's a warm season annual weed, grassy weed, and you'll start seeing it probably in the next month. But what I like to, and what this is a picture of is brown patch and summer patch that shows up in the lawn every year because it stays in the soil. So this is the time when you need to start being prepared. In May, you want to spray your lawn with a fungicide so that you prevent this disease from inoculating the grass plants. Now I'm going to show you how good my lawn looks. This is the next picture. This is my lawn, and I put my Scott Step 1 for seeding down 4 weeks ago, and then I seeded because this was thinned out. Now this is pretty interesting. Right in the front, where you can kind of see that line, the Nicor Gas laid new gas lines last summer. And then, so they resodded. I didn't want them to do it because it's a sunny sod, but anyway, they resodded. And then the side strip is my regular grass, my shady type grass. So I overseeded with a sun and shade mix, and you can see how it's all filling in. And boy, my lawn looked horrible about 6 weeks ago. I mean, I was embarrassed. So anyway, and all my hostas, I have about 35 hostas in this shade bed in the front, and they're all waking up, and I'll keep you posted on how that looks. Now, the spring lawn care, again, start with the fertilizer and the pre-emergent weed, which is the crabgrass. Wait 2 weeks to see how much it fills in, and then when you need to seed, and then watch to make sure the forsythia for the first fertilizer, and then the pre-emergent when the lilac's going to bloom. So I'm just warning you, you might have missed it. Now, this is dollar spot, which is one of the early season diseases. It usually shows up because it was around last fall, but and this is what it looks like under the microscope. But you want to use the any of the fungal controls, and there's a granular too. I actually like the liquids better, because if you're doing it every 2 weeks, it's not quite as much an ordeal as putting it in a spreader and walking all over the lawn. You can just spray the lawn. The Immunox is excellent. The Infuse, they're both propiconazole, which is interesting. And these hose-in sprayers are set to applicate at the right 7 ounces per gallon. We ran out of the Bio-Advanced Fungus Control, but it is also propiconazole. And and again, hose-in sprayers. And you want to spray every 2 weeks, starting the first week of May, then do it, the second, third week of May, and then that first week in June. And that's going to prevent the brown patch and the summer patch from getting into your lawn and then showing up 6 to 8 weeks later. You want to do it preventatively, so you keep these diseases from inoculating your grass plants. And then what's coming up It's too late to use this right now. So I wanted to point this out, that, it's still a great weed preventer and a great fertilizer if you're going to seed. But you're at that fine line about whether it's going to prevent the crabgrass. And I have this. This was from a year ago, showing how those products, the mesotrione is what the active ingredient is in both of those. These are exactly the same product. I think Scott's is phasing out the large bag and going to the small bag. The small bag is for 4,000 square feet. The large bag was for 5,000 square feet. And it's exactly the same, fertilizer and the active ingredient mesotrione. So we have both, if you have a larger lawn or a smaller lawn, but the nutrition is excellent in these. And then this is what the mesotrione does to creeping bent grass. And this was a year ago. And then it dings up the dandelions and the creeping Charlie and the clover. This was this year. I just took this shot 2 days ago, and this is in my lawn, another patch I didn't know about. And you can see my toes at the bottom of the picture. And the neat thing is, this didn't show up until they mowed. My grass had gotten so long, and then when they mowed it, you can see how the creeping bent grass is really fizzling out. So I love that. Okay, and then this is the creeping Charlie and showing the dandelion 2 weeks after the first picture. The lawn care calendar, and then now what's coming up. These are what you want to look at coming forward is doing another fertilization at the end of May, and I'll remind you when the time is right, the end of May into the first 2 weeks of June. And I want to point this one out. This is from BioAdvance, which was formerly the Bayer company. And this is a really cool product because the fertilizer lasts for 3 months. So that will take you through the whole summer to the very end to fall. And then it also has, a pre-emergent, prevents broadleaf weeds for up to 6 months. I love that. And our buyer brought that in specifically because he wanted to use it on his own lawn. And it prevents new crabgrass for 6 months. And it will kill any large crabgrass that if it has germinated already, by the time you put this down at the end of May, early June, it will kill it. So I'm gonna test this on my lawn too. Don't you love this? I'm the guinea pig here, and John too. I'll ask John how he likes it on his lawn. But that's a great one. The other one that is classic that I love encouraging everybody to use, if you don't need the weed control, is the Espoma lawn food. And this is organically based. It's a 1505, so no phosphorus, so it's not going to, hurt the waterways. We like it because it's juiced. It has a little extra nitrogen in it, so you get a quicker green up than you would with normal organically based fertilizers. So excellent product. I've been using this for years on my lawn, and it's my basic. So I'll use that. Oh, like the sirens in the background, sorry. I'm gonna use this on Labor Day and Halloween, in my own lawn. And those are the best times to fertilize. There's 4 times a year that you wanna fertilize. And we say it's around the holidays: Easter, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Halloween. And if you follow that, you're gonna have you'll have the best lawn in the block. Okay, now the other thing you need to do now is if you've had problems with grubs in your lawn in the past, and usually the way you realize you have problems with grubs is that the wildlife like skunks and raccoons will dig up your lawn looking for the grubs. They can smell them and they can actually hear them, and they'll dig up your lawn. Now, if you have more than 12 grubs per square foot, which is, this sample on the left, you can see they pulled the sod up and you count how many grubs are there. If you have more than 12, they can do enough damage to the root system that you really get damage to the lawn. But oftentimes you have just as little as 1 per square foot. But unfortunately, skunks and raccoons will do what they did on that lower picture down the bottom. They'll tear up your whole lawn looking for that 1 per square foot. And that's when you realize, gosh, I've got grubs. So now's the time to put it down. The grubs, and you can actually do GrubX. GrubX is, they changed the active ingredient in it about 4 years ago, and the active ingredient is chlorantraniliprole, and it's not a neurotransmitter insecticide. It's a chemical that affects the calcium ports in the muscles of the grubs, and when they crawl through, it's absorbed by the roots of the plants, the grass plants, and if they ingest it when they're eating the grass roots, then it causes all the calcium ports in their muscles to open up. The calcium floods out and they're paralyzed, and then they die. But because of that, it only affects 6 different insects: the 2 different grubs, the annual white grub, the Japanese beetle grub, and the chinch bugs, which we have problems in hot, dry summers with chinch bugs. Bill bugs, we don't see those that often. And then there are other 2 that we don't have in this area. But because it only affects those 6, and it doesn't affect neurotransmitters, it doesn't affect animals or humans, there's no warning label on it. So I encourage everybody to use it, just in case, because our Japanese beetles have been so bad. And because we had such a mild winter this past winter, we're probably going to see a lot of Japanese beetles this year. So get your grub X down if you have a sunny lawn. If you have shady lawn, don't worry about it. You're not going to have that many. And now this is also, you can still, do your grass seed. And this was the chart that was always on our grass seed packages in the past. And you have too little, too heavy, just right. And I always joke that, go get a hot dog bun or go get a hot dog over at Irving's, and you can see the exact consistency, hands on. And that's my jumbo dog. Oh God, I may have to go get one of those today. Those are so yummy. Okay, these are the roses that came in, and you can see a lot of these were the carpet roses, and some of these are the shrub roses, the early shrub roses that came in. This bed right now just got switched over just 2 days ago. It's all hybrid teas and grandifloras, and they are just spectacular. So come in and buy a rose for Mother's Day. They're wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Oh, and we had floral carpet, we had tree roses, and look how gorgeous the floral carpets are on the top of a tree rose. And then this is a great, it's called Ramblin Red. This is a climbing rose that was selected by Will Radler, who was the father of the knockout roses. And these just, look how gorgeous those roses are. And then Brunner is a beautiful pink climbing rose. And then this, I love this. It's called Grace and Grit Red, and it's a shrub rose. This is a shrub rose that will get to be 3 to 5 feet tall and 3 to 5 feet wide, and stays covered with roses like this the whole growing season. Really incredible. There's also a yellow one. Okay, but now I need to talk about the public enemy to roses and to most of our plants is rabbits. And they just did so much damage to our plants over this last winter. And then, they're really bothering the hostas already. And so you want to use the repellents, and plant skeet is probably the best one. And then there's also the liquid fence rabbit, dual action rabbit repellent that's the best one actually, because baby rabbits don't have a sense of taste or smell until they become adolescents. And this product has capsaicin, 5 times the capsaicin and 5 times the cinnamon of most of the repellents, and it burns their mouth parts. And so you want to get it on the plants now as the adults are scouting, and then when they have their babies, they won't bring their babies back to your garden, because they'll think that the restaurant's gone to the devil. So spray now, and this one needs to be sprayed once a week for the first 2 weeks, then once every 2 weeks, and for 2 times, and then once a month after that. And it's money back guaranteed. So it's it's got a warranty. Then I rotate in my own garden between this and plant skeet. I go back and forth and back and forth, and it's really effective. Now I want to warn you about these adults of the Boxwood Leafminer. They're going to be emerging within the next 2 weeks, and you'll see these little swarms flying, little clouds on top above your boxwood. If you haven't treated with a systemic, you still have time. The systemics are taken up in 5 days, so you can use a soil drench if you have a lot of boxwood, get the systemic spray, hose and spray. It's a systemic insecticide, and spray to the point of drip off. And then when those adults chew their way out, they will get killed. And then that chemical and the insecticide is absorbed into those leaves. And if they lay eggs and those eggs hatch and the larvae chew their way in, it will kill them. Or if they get into the center of the leaf and they keep feeding, the chemical is inside those leaves for actually 30 days if you spray it on. If you use a drench, it's in for 12 months. So it's the best way to take care of these. And this is what they do. And this is what the damage looks like. And I've talked about this every week. So I just want to remind you, if you haven't sprayed yours, you need to get that done. And this is what the above surface looks like if you have the insects in those leaves. And then we've also been seeing a lot of spider mite damage. So I want to show you what the difference looks like. Spider mite is this speckling. And I had a woman come in and she was adamant about the fact that she had spider mites. And so I gave her, we have a 3-in-1 spray that's an insecticide, a fungicide, and a miticide. And I gave her that, but then she brought samples back in and she did not have spider mite. She had Leafminer. So, so I have to be really careful when people come in saying, I have this, and I always ask, who told you you had spider mite? And did they look at it under a microscope? So if you're not positive, bring a sample in and I'll put it under the scope for you. Okay, and there's another look. You can always tell spider mite damage because it looks stippled. You see those little yellow speckling, on here. Okay, let's keep going. And then we always have had Boxwood Psyllid, and that's what makes the leaves cup up. And you'll start seeing those as soon as the new leaves on the boxwood, and they're budding up right now. So as soon as those new leaves emerge, the adults have crawled out from under the bud scales. They're going to lay the eggs. The larva will hatch, and then the larva starts sucking the juices. And up on the right-hand photo, you can see the little legs underneath that white cottony protection. You can see the legs of a nymph, that's right there. But usually they're hidden inside the cupped leaves. So you can actually use a contact insecticide to kill them, but it's so hard to get it inside those cupped leaves. So I like to use the systemic. You can use a systemic spray or a drench. Okay, and here are the systemics. Those are the drenches. And then, oh boy, these are gonna come out soon. And I just cringe every time I get the first sample that comes in. I have Viburnums at my house, and I'm watching them closely. I don't have any sign of them right now, but I also treat with an insecticide. So once these larvae hatch, and I was worried that with the 80-degree days that we had last week, I was going to start seeing these. And they can actually strip a viburnum of all their leaves in 3 to 5 days. That's how many of them emerge. And this was a sample where the leaves had all been stripped, and these larvae were chewing through the stem. And in the center, you could see that was the sample. And when I put it in the microscope, these were all the number of larvae. It's, if you don't have scientific detachment, this one can really gross you out. I almost got there. Almost got grossed out. And the bad thing is these guys feed, and they're up feeding for about 10 days to 2 weeks. And then they drop to the ground, pupate in the soil, and then 8 weeks later, they emerge again as adults. The adults are even smaller than the larva. And I'm not kidding how small they are. They're only about as long as the width of my little tiny fingernail. That's how small the larvae are. These are even smaller. And they don't do as much damage, but they're wicked because they're out mating, and then they lay eggs, and the female uses an ovipositor at the very tips, these little fine tips, and she lays all these eggs that overwinter, and they're there for next spring. So, okay, now, plan to protect susceptible plants from fungal problems. I've talked about this every week. The good news is we've been so dry that the pressure is not as high, although I say that, and we're getting rain now, and this is when the spore gets released, and this is when it can inoculate those baby leaves. Those baby leaves are still forming. They don't have that waxy cuticle on them. So this is when you want to really protect. And let's go back over here. So there's apple scab, on apple, crabapple, cotoneasters, black spot on roses, and rust on roses, and then botrytis bud blight on roses and peonies, Volutella stem blight on Pachysandra and Boxwood. We talked about that. Powdery mildew on lilac, monarda, roses, and a lot more. And then patch diseases on your lawn. So now is the time to protect using the systemic, fungicides. And okay, so here we go. So Immunox and Infuse are the two of the best. And you spray it on. And I like these because they don't have an insecticide in them. So these are good for like even orchard plants because I love, and they're cleared for use on apples and fruit crops as long as you use them within 14 days of harvest. And harvest isn't going to be until July. So this is really nice because both of these stay on even if it rains. And there's no insecticide in it. Now, the ready-to-use bottle does have an insecticide in it. You don't want to use that if the plants are still in flower because you'll kill your pollinators if you're dealing with a fruit tree. And you can also use a hose-in sprayer. And then these are the drenches, and the BioAdvanced All-in-One is my all-time favorite. And you can use this on small trees, small shrubs, well, shrubs, any shrubs and trees that are less than 18 feet tall. And I'm waiting for them to change the label, which says flower, rose and shrub and flower care, because it's on the inside label. But this is phenomenal because you have a great fertilizer, a very effective systemic fungicide, and a very effective systemic insecticide. Now, if you want to use your own fertilizer, some of the rosarians are really particular about using only their favorite, granular food. Then you use the Rose RX. It's also going to be renamed Rose Shield, and it has it's the systemic insecticide and the systemic fungicide in it. So those are wonderful. They last 6 weeks. So you do it. Let's just say this is May 1st, even though it's May 5th or it's 6th. No, it's 6th. But you're going to use it the first week of May. So then 6 weeks later, you'll use it the third week of June, and then the first week of August. And that takes care of all those problems, with fertilizer. Fertilizer is not a problem. And then there's insecticides and fungicides. Incredible. Earth-friendly natural fungicides are the copper soap. So this is what you need to spray on peaches to prevent peach leaf curl. And then I put the granulars, which is the sulfur granular, and the copper sulfate, which is the copper fungicide in the tall. Those are powders. So when you mix those as a spray, you can use it as a dust and just dust it on both surfaces of the plant. Or if you use a spray, you have to agitate it while you're spraying to keep all those particles in suspension. So that's why I love to tell people about the copper soap. And it's a great liquid. You use 80% less copper, and it's an excellent, excellent protectant. Copper is good for bacteria and for fungal problems. So it's great to use on all your orchard plants right now until they're done blooming. And then this is apple scab you're going to take care of, anthracnose, and then black spot on roses. Okay, now another warning about the ranunculus ficaria, or Ficaria nivis is the new name. This is, boy, if you haven't sprayed an herbicide on it, yet, do it as soon as it stops raining, because it's an ephemeral, it's going to go dormant, and you won't be able to do anything till next year. And these are the active ingredients that you use when they're in the lawn: 2,4-D, MCPP, MCPA, dicamba, and triclopyr. And that's the best one that we have is the chickweed clover and oxalis. And then Weed Beater Ultra is for cooler. And then the crabgrass broadleaf and weed killer. That's what I was talking about earlier if you didn't get your crabgrass pre-emergent down. You can also use sedginder, which is sulfentrazone is the active. And that's for nutsedge. It will also kill the ranunculus ficaria, or Ficaria nivis. And in open beds, again, this was the research I showed you from Dr. Boggs about using a non-selective, like a Roundup product or a glyphosate-based product. We should have that in from a different company than Roundup, but you want to use that in areas where you have desirable plants where you can't use lawn herbicides. And they found that, again, early flowering is 90% control, spraying 2 years in a row, 50% flowering, and we're at 75% or almost post flowering. So you have like one more weekend to try to get rid of this, and just a word of caution. And these are the products. Again, Weed Beater Ultra, Chickweed Clover Oxalis is the best for the lawns right now and going forward. Roundup in open beds, Weed Beater Iron or Weed Beater FE. You can use that as in place of Roundup, just spraying the leaves that you want to get rid of. It does not kill the roots though. So when they come back every 6 to 8 weeks, and those are regular weeds, you have to respray. But anyway, and then I want to tell people that this is when you're starting to see grass growing up into your planting beds in between the roses and up through the ground cover. This is the perfect time to spray this Grass Be Gone. It used to be called Over the Top from the Fertilome people, and they sold the rights to it to Ortho. And it's so cool. I love the active name. I say that every time. It's called Fluazifa, and sprayed over the top. And it's the exact same label from the Fertilome Over the Top product, sprayed over the top of perennials and herbaceous plants. It only kills grasses, and it's so nice. It takes about 10 to 14 days, but it kills it down at the root level. It's really great. And then this is also the time, get your fertilizers down. The Dr. Earth Tomato Veg and Herb, Tomato Tone is a good one. And then Root and Grow for newly planted things. It has that 4-10-3 plus the IBA, indibutyric acid, as the rooting hormone. And then the Dynagrow is the best for indoor house plants. And then, okay, I'm right on schedule here. Now, what is the horticulturist, me, doing in my own garden this weekend? I'm planning, I'm getting my vegetable garden back in shape. My husband rebuilt my raised beds, which was really nice. And so this weekend, I'm adding a bag of cotton burr compost and a bag of the Dr. Earth vegetable planting mix to each of my 4x4 sections. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections. So I'm gonna load my car up and spread that out, work it in, and then I'm doing a design. I'm planning my vegetable garden, and I like to use the ideas from Renee's garden on where to lay the plants out. And this is 4.5 by 6 foot beds. So I modified just a little bit, and then I'm watering in my garden. I watered yesterday. And then how fun we got the rain today, but that's okay. Like I said, the rain has been disappointing. It hasn't been giving me enough. And then I'm still repotting my strawberry plants in my hanging baskets. I didn't get to it last weekend. Shame on me, but there's always time. And so I had to just show how cool strawberries look. And then I need to show you a fun project I did that is looking really good. Okay, these are pots in the front of at my front door, and I took a hurricane, it's a hurricane lantern. It's like it's just the glass part, and I stuck it in the container, and I put a candle in the middle, and then I planted the pansies around the edge. And this is the left side is what it looked like 3 weeks ago. And look how it's filled in and it's growing. Isn't that adorable? And so I've only had people over for brunch, and we were celebrating that we all got our vaccines, and that we were and everyone loved these. I didn't have to light the candles, and I'm kind of worried now that the pansies are getting so high that the candle will burn them up. But it's still really cute, So that's a fun idea I learned 100 years ago, and I just like sharing fun ideas with you all. So what I'm going to do is let's go to the questions and answers. I'm going to get out, I'll stop sharing the screen. There we go. Hi, I'm back. And then here are the questions and answers. I'm going to pop this up, and then I'm going to move it over so I can read it better. And there's hi Trish. Hi Trisha. Will there be a Farm Truck Friday this year? There are, but they had one last week. They don't have another one scheduled just yet. And it's based on what is looking good and what we have extra at the farm. So stay tuned, watch the our emails, because they always announce it, like midweek of when the farm truck is going to be back again. So it's a nice service, and you really get some good deals, some really good deals. And then here's Tanya Haskett. Is it too soon to plant annuals and herbs right now? Okay, if you're planting the warm season annuals and the herbs, and when I say herbs, the woody herbs are okay. You can do thyme and oreganos. They're hardy. And you won't have so much damage, but don't even think about putting basil in, and because basil gets offended when temperatures go down in the 50s. So I hold off on putting my basil out till Memorial Day or later, and then we should be getting in tomatoes and peppers next week. We might have some for this weekend. Watch our e-blast is going to go out tomorrow, and we got geraniums, like I said. So just be prepared to cover them, with boxes, or have a sheet, have some good stakes, and then you can put the stakes up and throw the sheet over them just to keep the frost from settling down on top of if we get a frost. Okay, Shauna. Oh, let me get these cleared off. Okay, and Shane. It's Shane. Yeah, it's Shane. Okay, Shane. Hello, Jennifer. Great to see you. I forgot what hose in spray you recommended to use on all my boxwood. I have around 100. Oh, okay, Shane. What you want to do is come in and it's the Bonide brand, and it's the systemic insect spray, and you just hook it to the hose and spray. It will last 30 days. So you'll need to spray once a month, May, June, and July, to prevent the boxwood leaf miner. And then we also have, there is also a concentrate, and you would have to put it in like a hose-in sprayer or a tank sprayer. A hose-in sprayer would work, and it's from Bio Advanced, and it's a 3-in-1 spray, and it has the insecticide, the fungicide, myclobutanil, and a miticide. And that would be another good one for boxwood. Great question. And when you have 100, it's hard to do a drench. So the spray works really well and quick, and real quick. Okay, great questions. And then here's an anonymous attendee. Any precautions we should take with buying geranium planters for Mother's Day? Yeah, that's a really great question. Be prepared to move them into the garage, if we get temperatures that are going to drop down below 40s. And, it seems pretty safe, but boy, you never can tell in Chicago. Never can tell in Chicago. But, we don't have the tall towers yet. But we have, the pots are gorgeous. I think they're 12-inch pots, 10-inch pots, 12-inch pots. I don't think I saw 14. But they're gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous. And all the colors. Oh my God. I mean, there's just nothing better than geraniums. Okay. Great question. And this is D Santucci. D, what is the best way to get rid of dandelions? Well, the best way is to use the herbicide from the Bonide people called chickweed clover and oxalis, and it takes care of dandelions beautifully. You just spray them and then leave it for 10 to 14 days, and it kills it even at the root. So I do that. I like to just spot spray the weeds in my lawn, because I'm, touch wood, lucky enough, I don't have that many weeds. So, I put a pre-emergent down on the whole lawn, so, seeds don't germinate. But then I just spot spray my weeds, and it does the trick. It really works well. So, okay. And then Shane again, thank you. Have a great weekend, and happy Mother's Day. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I have to work on Mother's Day. So I appreciate the good wishes. And then last year, my son did a really neat thing. He brought me a Culver's butter burger with bacon for Mother's Day for lunch on that day. And oh my God, it was a total surprise. And it was just totally wicked. And it was totally delicious. And it was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So I don't think he watches these videos. So if anybody calls him, okay, he'll kill me because this is going to be on YouTube. But happy Mother's Day to all of you who are mothers and deserve to be celebrated. So thank you so much for tuning in. Always stay, if you have any other questions, you can always send any inquiries to hello@shallynursery.com. And all of our staff in the customer call center, if they can answer them, they'll answer them on the spot and get back to you, or they direct them to all of us horticulturists here, at Chalet. The topic next week, I'm going to be honoring the frost-free date and all the wonderful plants you can plant safely on, now that we have the frost-free date. So we're going to be talking about the different vegetables, the different warm season annuals that we'll be getting in, and then also the latest things I always see at the diagnostic desk. So thank you for tuning in and enjoying these garden coach sessions with me. Okay, bye everybody. Thank you, Rhonda. Bye-bye.